Okay, I'm gonna get working on the plywood floor. I've got printed off the plan for the plywood, all the various pieces. These are all 1 inch squares, so that give me the layout. But some of it I have the old piece, and I'll just lay it down and trace it. So I'm going to start off with one of the bigger floor pieces. I'm going to take it out of this. When I bought the sheet to fit it in my truck, I had to cut 2 feet off the end of it. So that's why I've got a 2-foot piece here, and I got the 6-footer over in the rack there, and I'll grab that in a few minutes. So this piece is 32.5 by 18 3/4. So I'm going to take that out of this. 32.5. Get in there and move my dust collector a little bit. I haven't been set up to do any woodwork for quite a while. Much of what I've been doing this week has been trying to find my table saw under all the mess and trying to catalog some of the parts and get stuff put away. And I did get a few other things done, but anyway, for now we'll just stick to the job at hand. Okay, 32.5. Want to make sure I'm working off the factory edge, so I'm starting off square. I think that's there. Anyway, square I was looking for, but it should work. Okay. Pretty rough. What this does tell me, though, is the way it has to be shaped on the back side of it. I don't know if you can see that, but it's got a bevel on the back, and I don't know if that is indicated on those drawings or not. I'll have to check it out. And that's for the starter. So this would be the passenger side toe board. Okay, so I've made my grid just for the corner. And in the first line, it gives me the dimension actually, because it's 1 3/8, so that's going to be right here. And that goes up 3 inches. And there it just kind of curves. Goes out just below a half. And up. Something like that. And see, in here you have to route out on the underside only 1/4 inch deep. So I'm going to draw that in. That goes to and going the other way. Again, 32.5. So it means I got to start in 1/2 inch, or I got to go from the other end. Start at 32 and go 32, 31, 30, 29. So these pieces, they get a 45-degree bevel along this edge, and then I have to do a 35-degree bevel on the bottom edge. And 45 degree, I've got a router bit to produce that. I'm going to do that one first. And then I don't have one for 30 degree. So that I'll just have to do with a belt sander. It'll be on that flat edge. I could rig something up on the table saw, but for that little bit, I think that'll be easier just to do it with a belt sander. So here, I'm gonna make some noise. Down a little bit more, but gotta be careful or I don't go too far and get off the bearing. If I have to go any further than that, I'm going to have to belt sand it. That's about as deep as I can go. This one has to be on the other side. Okay, so now uh, 30 degrees right there. getting close. It's looking good. It has to go this way according to this opening, and it's also not pressing in quite all the way on this side. Now, yeah, so I'm gonna have to grind away a little bit in there and just try and let this thing come over a little bit, and then it's actually looking pretty good. So I'll keep working away at that. And okay, there's the back. That one looks great. I still have to do the recess on the other side because that little, I don't know, am I still showing it here? There. So it's not sitting back quite all the way. I have to do a little relief on the back side, but other than that, I think that one is fitting very well. And coming over here, and that one's coming along, but same problem as the other side. It's not quite going in all the way, so it's going to need some finessing, particularly along the inside. Get it to move that way a little bit. Anyway, it's coming. Keep working on it. Well, just going straight off the drawings, everything is just a little bit too big. And, kind of close, but they're going to take some a little bit of custom fitting. And this is a little bit long. Other than that, that almost looks like it would drop in there. And part of that is because I'm using 1/2-inch plywood, so this is a little further forward. I also haven't routed that out on the back side. I have to give a little bit of a relief there. That'll allow it to go back. So I guess I'll do that next, and then I'll work on fitting those the toe kicks, the toe boards, and that all has to go in first, and then I'll just individually fit all the other floorboards. So yeah, it's just going to be basically a little bit of belt sander work on each panel until it fits. The other side. See, this one looks like it's a little bit too wide. It won't drop down in there. And the front piece looks like it fits in there quite nicely, but it's not going down all the way. Same thing with that front floorboard. So I'll be back. I'll get these things fitted up a little better and we'll have another look. Now, I've routed out this recess on both sides. Still won't go back all the way, and it's hitting right here. And that's what this is here. The note says tapered mortise. And yeah, so I'm going to take my belt sander and I'll go on an angle. I'm going to give this a bit of a tapered relief right there. I'll try it again, and I'll see if I have to go in a bit further with this one. Probably about 3/16 of an inch, so I might have to go in another 1/16 or so. But anyway, I'll do that taper, and then we'll see what happens. Getting a lot closer. I'm going to give it the extra 1/16 of an inch on the recess. Okay, I've got all the floorboards fitted. I've spent about the last hour, or since the last clip of video, I spent about an hour running back and forth to the bench, just fine-tuning everything. Belt sanding here and belt sanding there, a little relief. Actually, I do still have a couple of things to do. Right here where these bolt holes are, there has to be a relief for clearance, so you can get a wrench in and get them on the bolts. That's for the handbrake. And back here, this has to be beveled off a little bit. There's a hole through the side tunnel for a drain. So got to leave a little bit of relief there so that any water that gets in can get to that drain hole. But other than that, they're all in there. They're fitted. They're fitting fairly well. And so far altogether, I've got 4.5 hours. So well worthwhile doing it yourself. But anyway, that's my opinion. Try and back away enough that you can kind of see the whole thing. I think even if you bought them, you'd be doing all this fine tuning, because everywhere I did some welding, you know, you got a bit of weld. You have to do a little bit of relief for to get it to sit down flat. All kinds of little things, but anyway, I'm pleased. I'm going to wrap this video up here. The floor is finished as far as the fabrication. I've added in the clearance recess in a couple of spots that I needed to, and what I'll have to do is drill from the underside and to mark all the mounting holes. And so I've got it raised up in the air quite a bit so I can move around underneath it. And then I'll have to finish it. And the finishing, I think I'm going to mix up a fairly thin mixture of epoxy primer, and I'm going to brush on the epoxy primer and several coats to the edges, and just to seal it up really good. And then I'll paint it black. Not quite sure what kind of a black paint I'll be using yet, but it shouldn't matter what I put over top of the epoxy primer. Anyway, and in the meantime, I'm working on the Mini. Unfortunately, the Mini has been overheating. I really don't know why. Everything is new. I do suspect that I had a leaky gasket on the carburetor, and maybe it was running a bit lean. I checked the plugs, and the plugs were showing much leaner on the one end than on the rest. So that's what I'm working on right now. I've got the carbs off, and at least I've got my table saw now is somewhat clear, so I have a nice big work area there. But anyway, yeah, I've got to get the exhaust off, scrape off the old gasket, and then throw it back together. I've never wired up the spot lamps on the front, so I have to do that. I've got the relay mounted, but I never hooked up the wiring. And if changing the gasket does not solve my overheating, I also bought an electric fan that I can throw on it because it's fine running on the highway, but as soon as I get into the city, then I run into problems at stoplights and so on with the overheating. Anyway, that's all for now. And please like and subscribe, and go on back and see you on the next one. Have a good one.